On Tuesday in class, we did a lot of different activities with our new vocab words. So for your absent assignment, you're just gonna have to watch this video of me talking. And yes, it's gonna be more boring, but hopefully it'll be short. So our unit is called population dynamics. And we'll talk about what that actually means at the end here. So the first definition is population, and a population is a group of the same species living in the same area. Okay, so a lot of the time when we think of populations, we think of like how many people live in a city, because that's the number of human beings that live in that city. So the humans in Walker are one population. Um, you could also say like the bacteria on your phone are one population. Okay. So a biotic factor, there's different types of factors that can affect a population. And one of those is a biotic factor, which is something that is living or once living. So, living or once living things that affect other organisms in an ecosystem. For example, the bacteria on your phone affect you. Okay. You probably don't want to lick your phone. You might not feel so good afterwards. Um, you could be affected by the plants that grow in your area. Okay, you could be like positively affected by them or negatively affected by them. um Now the opposite of a biotic factor, which is those like living things, the things that you eat usually, so you've got like your plants and animals and bacteria and fungi. The opposite of that is an abiotic factor. And an abiotic factor is something that is non living that affects organisms in an ecosystem. Now, non living things are things that were never alive and never, or like are not currently alive. So, um, for example, water is abiotic, it's non living. There are living things in most water, but the water itself, H2O, is non living. Another example of this is like if you pick up a rock, you go outside and you pick up a rock, like that thing's never been alive, therefore it's not dead. So it is what we call non living. Okay, so an abiotic factor is probably going to be like the temperature, the amount of sunlight, the precipitation, okay, or the quality of water, things like that. So the definition of the word resources is what organisms need to survive. So when we are doing our yeast experiments later, yeast have certain resources. And so we will talk about how they need sugar and they need uh they need moisture and they need warmth. Okay, so those are their resources that they need. They're very similar to abiotic and biotic factors. However, resources are specifically only for survival, whereas biotic and abiotic factors could be for survival, but they could also be for like bad reasons. Okay, like I said, with biotic factor, you have some plants that do benefit you. Okay, like if you grow carrots in your garden, they're good for you. However, if your mom has a maple tree in the front yard, and you're allergic to maple, uh, it's not benefiting you, right? But it is a biotic factor in your environment. So that allergic reaction is bad, but it's not um, a resource. Okay. Carrying capacity. This one does not come up very often when we're talking about human populations. And so people kind of forget that it has to do with populations. But a carrying capacity is the maximum number of organisms that can survive in an area. So it is the largest amount of organisms in a population that can survive together. Once you have too many, they're going to either run out of space or food, or they're just generally going to want to leave the area or, you know, die. Um, we don't talk about this much with humans because we don't like to consider that the human population on Earth might have a carrying capacity. We do talk about it a lot with things like deer and yeah, deer populations. Okay. So when our deer populations are reaching their carrying capacity, they increase the number of deer you can shoot during deer hunting season, right? So this is something important for that. All right. And then I forgot population dynamics somehow. Population dynamics are all of the factors that make up or that define a population. So you've got the size of the population, the density, and the range. For example, people living in Walker, the size of our population of Walker is around 940 people. I think it's more than that now. The density of the people living in Walker is pretty dense actually for this area when you compare Walker to like Hackensack. Okay. We have more people in about the same area of land. And the range. So the range would just be the city limits. So it would be that border. All right. So those are all of the definitions. And that is your Tuesday assignment.